Mr. Secretary, with us.
You bet, Bill.
This case involving black farmers who said they were discriminated against because they couldn't get loans from the federal government has taken a couple of decades to get settled. Why so long?
I can't speak to the first 18 years. The last 2 years we've been working hard to get Congress to approve the appropriation. This was reopened by the 2008 Farm Bill, and we've been focused on making sure that the congressional appropriation, which was a condition of the 2008 Farm Bill, was met. And the Senate passed the bill last week, and we hope the House does very soon, and then we get on to getting the resources out to farmers.
Well, it does have to go back to the House one more time, as we understand it.
That's correct.
And there were some objections in the House, people saying, well, there may be fraud involved in some of these.
Well, we certainly have tried to address that in some of the conditions the Senate put on, but I would point out that in the previous 17,000, 18,000 cases that were adjudicated and determined in the first Pigford case, only 3 cases were found to have at least been marginally questionable. So 3 out of 17,000, 18,000. I think it's a fair indication that there were problems that needed to be addressed, and we are making sure that we want to turn this chapter. In USDA's history, it's not just African American farmers, it's also Hispanic women and Native American farmers, and we're trying to basically resolve many of these cases.
Now, how about the Hispanic women farmers? Are they covered under this, or no, that's separate?
It's a separate type of a case, simply because those cases, the women farmers and the Hispanic farmers, were never certified as a class action, and as a result, they are individual cases, so we have to have a different approach to resolve those cases, and we're working on that.
So you hope it won't take as long?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to. We're going to try to, as I say, turn this page and move on to a more positive chapter in civil rights in the USDA.
This was really a rough go. We had tractor protests by black farmers coming to Washington, and how long do you think it'll take them now to get their settlement once the final vote is taken?
Well, our hope is that we get the adjudicator in place and that we begin processing the paperwork. It is a bit complicated and a bit cumbersome, but it is a way of checking and making sure that we're only paying legitimate claims. The fact is that these folks were discriminated against. Many of them didn't get loans when they were entitled to. Some of them got loans, but they got them very late in the process, so it really didn't do them as much good. And as a result, their yields may not have been as good as they might have otherwise been. So this is a process that has been inflicting consequences for quite some time.
Yeah, and I mean, you said when the measure passed on Friday that it marked a major milestone.
It does. Again, as you pointed out, these cases have been pending for some time, and to give viewers a sense of this, we're talking about tens of thousands of potential cases against the USDA. And this is a chapter we want to close, so we want a more progressive and forward-thinking USDA that doesn't discriminate against anyone.
So what does the USDA do differently today to make sure that there is no discrimination of this kind?
Well, in fact, we have hired an outside consultant to work with us to take a look at the operations in the 16 states that gave rise to most of these claims in order to determine precisely what practices are in place today that might potentially lead to claims in the future. We're going to get a report from that group the latter part of this year, and we'll be implementing those changes next year. So it is both a look back to try to resolve the cases and a look forward to make sure that we don't have claims in the future.
Why do you think this took so long?
I'm not sure. Again, I can't speak to previous administrations. I know this has been a focus for us. When the president hired me, I went to former secretaries and said, what should I be focusing on? They said, you've got to close the civil rights chapter, which we weren't able to do completely. I'm very intent on closing it and starting a new chapter.
Mr. Secretary, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.